I think there's very little debate, at least between us, that the African Cup of Nations is the best international footballing tournament in the world. But of the 54 teams that are affiliated with the Confederation of African Football, 10 nations have never qualified for the African Cup of Nations. One of them, I believe, might be on the verge this time around. So on the cusp of this next international break here in October, I wanted to take the time to take this episode to talk about them. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the African Football Roundup. My name is Maher Mizahi. As always, I'm your host. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. We have some very important articles coming up on various different subjects, so I highly suggest you go check them out. I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can go there and get your fix really for anything that you want to read about on the African continent, whether that, be economic, political, social, cultural, and so on and so forth. So, as mentioned in the intro, there are 10 countries that have never qualified for an African Cup of Nations: Somalia, Eritrea, South Sudan, Chad, Sao Tome e Principe, Djibouti, Eswatini, Seychelles, Lesotho, and the Central African Republic. Some of them, like South Sudan, for example, they've only been independent for a decade and change. So, do you really expect them to have qualified for an African Cup of Nations? Me personally, no. They didn't have things like the infrastructure in place to even, field a competitive team at times. For others, there are demographic limitations. Take a country like Sao Tome and Principe, for example, very small country. They don't have a huge talent pool to choose from. Same thing you could say for the Seychelles. Um, and then a country like Somalia, where, unfortunately, politically, the country's been plagued for decades now. Um, some international bodies have called it a failed state at times. Again, you can understand why there are obstacles in the road for them to go and prioritize sport or to prioritize football when there are so many other things that the country should be prioritizing at the moment. So I can understand why these countries, for example, haven't really made it to the African Cup of Nations. But there are others, like Chad, like Chad, for example, like Niger, like their neighbors in the Sahel. They've all qualified to Cup of Nations before. Chad has never done it, even though they've had, pretty talented players in the past. They've never managed to get over that final hurdle. And now that the Afcon's expanded, I'm expecting them to qualify to their first one in the near future. South Sudan, actually, who we just spoke about, they have some very talented 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And you could see that in other sports like basketball, for instance, they were very impressive at the Olympic Games. Athletically, I don't like to talk about like the genetics of an entire country, but athletically, they produce a lot of very physically gifted athletes. And me personally, there's one thing that I do, and actually this should be coming out in the next week or so. I do some scouting for the Guardian sometimes, and I give them, top five African talents under the age of 17. And there are several from South Sudan that are on my radar. A player like Peter Lazarus, for example. Some of them playing for the senior national team. And so I think South Sudan, don't look now. Give it 5 to 10 years, but I think they will be a team that qualifies for an AFCON, and they will be a team that's competitive in the region in the very near future. But there's one team that's ripe for qualification right now. And that's really the one team that I wanted to focus a lot of this episode on. It's the Central African Republic. Why do I say that? Um, I took the time to do a little bit of research in this episode, and I looked at the last 10 to 15 years of nations that qualified to the AFCON for the very first time, and I tried to see if I could find some common denominators, some similarities. Is there a recipe of sorts for qualifying to the African Cup of Nations? Come along with me for the journey, and we're going to see if we can find a common recipe, and then we'll see if that recipe applies to Central African Republic. 2021, the Gambia qualifies for their first AFCON. Uh, at home, they beat Angola, they beat Gabon, and they drew against the Democratic Republic of Congo. Their coach, Tom Saint Feet, was in place since 2018. So he had been there for at least a year and change prior to starting the AFCON qualifiers in 3 years, or 4 years really, before playing the first AFCON. They have veterans that were in the squad: Omar Koli, Pa Modou Janye, Hassan Cisse, Musa Barrow, Suleiman Mare. Those are four of the Gambia's top seven players that have accumulated the most experience, the most caps ever in the country's history. Omar Colley is number one, Pamudu Dieng is number two, Asan Cisse is three, Musa Barrow is four, and Suleiman Mare is seven. So lots of veterans. So you see, these are the three things that have sort of come up time and time again. Did they protect home field advantage? Yes. Has their coach been there for a while? Is there some stability at the coaching level? Yes. Is there some stability at the player level? Yes, for the Gambia. In 2021, we also had Comoros qualifying for the first time. They didn't lose at home. They drew versus Togo. They drew versus Egypt. They beat Kenya. Their coach, Amir Abdu, had been there since 2014, the current coach of Mauritania. And then again, if you look at Yusuf Mchangama, leading Comoros appearance, uh, leading in the history of Comorian football, he's the leading appearance getter. I should have worded this better. I should have done a little more preparation. 63 caps for him. Ben Jalud Yusuf, 46. Fouad Bashiru, 41. Jimmy Abdu, 40. Fardou Ben, I think, is a top seven in the nation as well. So again, you have a core, of very experienced, talented veteran players. Everybody that I've named, by the way, has European footballing experience. All of them do, and they are the ones that sort of pushed and propelled the team forward alongside the coach, of course. The Gambia, by the way, played in Bakau in the Gambia. Comoros played in I don't know why the capital city of Comoros is escaping me at the moment, but it's that stadium, with the artificial pitch, and you can see the palm trees in the background and the mountain, and it's very, very scenic. Where they gave Morocco some trouble, Egypt some trouble, and so on and so forth. 2019, Mauritania qualifies for their first ever AFCON. At home, they beat Burkina Faso, they drew versus Botswana, they drew versus Angola. They were also undefeated. The coach, Corentin Martens, was there since 2014. Their veterans, Suleiman Diallo, Mohamed Allahi Yali, Ismail Diakite, Bissam, and Ali Abid, also top five of all time for Mauritania. I think those are five of the top six. Suleiman Diallo is one, Mohamed Allahi Yali is two, Ismail Diakite is three, Bissam is four, and Ali Abid is five. Actually, that's top five. So again, stability at coaching level, stability at the playing level, and protecting home field advantage. Madagascar, there is a little bit of a glitch here. So this isn't Madagascar is almost the exception to the rule. So at home, they drew versus Senegal. They beat Equatorial Guinea and they lost to Sudan. They're the only team really that I think one of the only two teams that lost a match. Their coach Nicolas Dupuy had been there for only 1 year prior to the AFCON. He really started with the AFCON qualifiers. But Madagascar did have a golden generation of players that came through the JMG Academy. Players like Ibrahim Amada, Andrea Carolus, Pauline Vuavi. These are all players, again, that end up in the top 10 of appearance appearance getters for Madagascan football. And they also had experienced players playing in France, players like Lelena Nomanjanahari, Iman Sima, Gervais Randri, and Narisoa. He's the one name that I can't really mention, but everything else I kind of got down pat. Burundi also qualified for their first AFCON. They protected home field advantage, a win for South Sudan, draw versus Mali, draw versus Gabon. Olivier Nyungeko had been there since 2016. And same thing, four players, Cedric Amisi, Karim Nizigi Amana, Fiston Abdul Razak. All of these are in the top five of Burundi's ever appearances. I'm not going to keep going on and on and on. Final one is 2017, Guinea-Bissau, 2 wins out of 3 at home. Bashir Okande had been there since 2016, but he spent 9 years, excuse me, he spent 9 years from 2001 to 2010 with Guinea-Bissau. So he had a lot of experience with them prior to coming in for the second stint. And then a player like the goalkeeper, Jonas Mendes, all-time leader for Guinea-Bissau. Players like Piketty and Zizinho, they're actually younger when they weren't making their debuts at the 2017 AFCON, but I think had only made 5 to 10 appearances for their national teams at the time, but they finish amongst the top of all time in appearances. So Guinea-Bissau and Madagascar are a little bit, they don't 100% follow the recipe, but I think what we can sort of devise from all of this is stability at the coaching level, stability at the player level, protect home pitch. You are almost guaranteed to qualify to the African Cup of Nations for the very first time. And sometimes, I'm saying all of this as if it's a revelation, but sometimes the ends justify the means. So, of course, if you don't fire a coach, you're probably getting positive results. Of course, if you're undefeated at home, you're probably going to qualify. Of course, if you have talented players, you're probably going to qualify, you know? So it's not like you can just say, okay, I have this recipe, I'm going to implement it. No, often, these are these are the things that happen on the pitch, and then from there we can sort of deduce that, oh, this is a winning recipe after the fact. You understand what I'm saying? But I do think there's something in that, finding a coach with a long-term vision, seeing if you have, a talented group of players that can lead you for the next 5, 6, 7 years. There's something in that, I believe. And protecting home field advantage is big at the moment because we are in an unprecedented moment in African football where more than ever, teams are being stripped of their right to host matches. And I'm in two minds about this because the Confederation of African Football, on one hand, I can understand them really being strict with federations and making sure that your stadiums have to be up to standard, because this can be a risk to players if the playing surfaces are not up to par. This can be a risk to supporters, whether through things like crushes or even if a supporter, let's say, has a heart attack, heaven forbid, is there, like first aid on the scene? Is there defibrillators on the scene? So on and so forth. I know that in many, many stadiums that I've been to across the continent, these things are lacking at times. So these are health risks. And I understand them pushing federations to ensure that there's a standardization. But at the same time, I feel like we're going a little bit overboard. And stripping the teams' right to host matches at home sometimes can do you a lot more bad than good. And I'm sensing that we're reaching a tipping point here where, sooner rather than later, I think federations are going to be a lot more they're going to be complaining a lot more about this than they have been so far. Anyways, all of that said, let's get back to the Central African Republic. So, their coach, Raoul Savoy, has been there since 2001. So he's already been there for 3.5, 4 years. He had also been at the Central African Republic at a previous stint between 2017 and 2019, so like Guinea-Bissau's coach Bashir Okonde. The goalkeeper, Jeffrey Lembet of Rennes, very stable, very good goalkeeper, even though he's not starting goalkeeper for Rennes. Jeffrey Kondogbia, everybody knows, a central midfielder, played at Valencia, played at, I believe, Sevilla, now currently playing at Marseille. 17 caps for the team, captains the team on several occasions. And then their striker, Louis Mafuta, has 16 goals in 26 matches for Central African Republic. Their three best players are up the spine of the team: goalkeeper, central midfielder, center forward, and they're also amongst the most experienced. And that's one thing that I really like about this team. Even the other players that have European experience, like a central defender, Cedric Yambare, uh, very experienced as well. They're between that golden period of 26 to 29 years old. Sada Kondombe is another, and Florian Gao. These are underrated, experienced defenders playing their football on the continent, in Congo, I believe. Um, and so I really like their team. And again, they seem to have that core of talented, experienced players with some experience in Europe. They have stability at the coaching level. The one thing that they're lacking, however, is that they don't really have home field advantage because of the standardization that CAF's being very strict with. They're not playing their matches in Bangui. And I can tell you that playing matches in Bangui makes a big, big difference. One of my most vivid experiences, in terms of Algeria losses. I think this was 2011, maybe. It was after Algeria had qualified to the World Cup. It was either 2011 or 2012. And we were playing a 2012 Afcon friendly qualifier match, maybe against Central African Republic. And I remember losing that match and just seeing the state of the pitch. It was very, very long. The grass was very long. I remember seeing supporters jump down from the stands, and they were on the running track around the stadium. Just as the Central African Republic were clearly going to win that game, they got louder and louder and more raucous. And at one point, I swear I could have, if I'm not remember, if I'm remembering correctly, they start like doing a dance. Everybody has their hands on the person in front of them's shoulders, and they're just sort of dancing around in a circle around the pitch. And I'm thinking, wow, imagine you're a player in all of this. This is a tough atmosphere to go and play in. Imagine trying to win a match in Bangui, you know. And so the fact that they haven't played a match in Bangui, I think, has been a big disadvantage for them. But they have everything else in the recipe. Um, for the 2023 AFCON qualifiers, they nearly qualified. So they have experience. They know how to get there or nearly get there. Their last match, they lost away to Ghana, and that's what ensured that they didn't qualify. But they were nearly there. It came to the last match day. They have a sort of semi-home advantage in Wijda, even though they're not playing in Bangui. Wijda is a place that their coach Raoul Savoy knows very well. He coached over there. They played previous matches over there as well. So I feel like it's a home away from home, but still they really want to play at home. Um, another disadvantage they have besides not playing from home is the fact that CAF has put this qualification format in place. And let me know what you think. I don't know if it's fair or not, where Morocco as host will automatically qualify. And so there's only one qualification place that's available for the rest of the three teams. And the coach is not happy about that. And I can understand him. I think I agree with him. I think, Morocco matches should almost be like a friendly, and there should be two teams that qualify from the group. But then as I thought about it some more, I said, you know what? No, that could be like if you have a group of three with one team that qualifies out of it, that's okay as well. I mean, like you have a 33% chance of qualifying instead of a 50% out of if you do like if you have four teams and two go through. So it's a little unfair, but I can understand that as well. It makes qualifiers a lot more smoother. But what do you guys think about that? Anyway, so during this podcast, I'm going to play an interview now because I spoke to the coach of Central African Republic. He's from Switzerland. His name is Raoul Savoy. He's been coaching on the African continent for more than 2 decades. And I asked him about all of these things, and I'd like to know what you guys think of this interview. Take a listen. Coach, thank you for your time. Thank you for agreeing to be on the African Five-A-Side podcast. You've been coaching on the African continent for almost 2 decades now, actually for more than 2 decades. So you're a name that's very well known on the African continent and in particular in the Central African Republic, where you've spent 6 years in over three stints, really, 6 years. But the question that I want to start with is the question I ask every coach I interview. What is the best thing about being the coach of the Central African Republic?
Well, they have a lot, but the most things that I think the people is very, very smart, and I like the way they are thinking about football and about life in general. They suffer a lot in their history. They are suffering still now, and I think the positive way how they think about life and football, I like it. And in my career, in my life, I love being with people that they are positive and not always criticizing and disconstructive, I will say.
For those people that don't know, and we're not going to get into politics or anything, but the situation in Central African Republic has been complicated for several years now. There's been almost a civil war of sorts, some violence. The UN peacekeeping corps are there. Does this affect you and your job and football in any way, or no? I mean, obviously, you can't play matches at home. That's a big, big advantage in Africa. But what about in your quotidien, your day-to-day?
No, it doesn't affect badly. It affects, I will say, positively because you know when you are wearing these shirts, it's something more than just football, and it's easy to talk with people and the players to explain them that yeah, when we play, we have to be proud of the shirt we wear and people that are looking for us and especially supporting us, they have to be proud of as well. That's why it's not negative. It's most positive that's negative. And for the stadium, is nothing about the situation in the country. It's just because the stadium is not homologated by FIFA. They are now the work is in progress now. I hope next year we will play in Bangui, and it's very important for us to play home sportively because it's more easy to play some games at home. When we are playing outside in Africa, it's difficult, but we learn about it. So it's positive. We learn about how to play far away. But now, and for our fans, it's very important to see the Wilds at home and playing in front of their grounds. Important.
So, Coach, the reason why I wanted you on this podcast, the main reason I wanted to speak to you for some time now, but the theme of this episode is what does it take to qualify for the African Cup of Nations? We're going to be, in the midst of the AFCON qualifiers when this comes out. It's really in the middle, the October window. There's just the November window, and then we're finished. Um, and only 8 teams in Africa have never qualified for an African Cup of Nations. Central African Republic is one of them. You came very, very close in 2023. It came down to the last match day. In your opinion, what are some of the ingredients that are necessary to help a team qualify to the African Cup of Nations?
Financially first, I think financially first because it's a big push ahead when you qualify. Second, for the players because okay for them, for those are playing outside in Europe, and then it's very important. But for the local ones, it will be a window for them, and for the fans as well because they deserve to be proud of the team when we are playing in the such a big tournament. That's why it's not only about football; it's only about proudness and of course financially because the FA needs some money about that. And when you are playing football at that level, you have to understand that it's okay. It's emotion, it's a sport, but also financial. It's important to grow and to allow people, young ones, to be better in the future.
Yeah, I think maybe you misunderstood the question. This is all the benefits of qualifying for the African Cup of Nations. My question was more, what does it take? So, for example, I looked over the last few years of the teams that qualified for the first time. Comoros, for example, they had the coach Amir Abdou for I think 5, 6 years before they qualified, and they had some experienced players playing in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Similar with the Gambia, they had Tom Saintfiet for 3, 4 years before they qualified for the very first time. Do you think it's important to have a stability in coaching before you can qualify for the very first time? Do you think it's important to have experienced players that play in Europe to qualify for the very first time? If there is a recipe in Rosette to qualify for the first time, what do you think it can be?
Playing home, that's the only things we need now because stability we have such a good players, local ones and I will say overseas ones, and we need only the the home ground. If we play home, I can tell you the next one when we just miss for 1 point at the end, we play all the games our way, and I think if we play just once in Bangui, we qualify. That's we need to play home because I in the story, the football story in Africa, is no team qualified where they were playing all the games outside.
Yeah,
Impossible.
yeah.
Impossible because of the pressure, the referees because they are not so smart when you are playing away, and it's not easy. It's a reality. We have to talk about that. And if we play just one, the last campaign, I think we qualify. We qualify easily. But now we have to play all the games away. And especially now, you look in the group we are playing for the Afcon. Morocco will play, I will say, 5 games home and just one in Gabon. The other ones, they will play home. It's easy. It's easy for a team like this, even if they are already qualified. But in the World Cup qualifiers, Morocco is playing almost all the games home. It's not fair.
Last match against the DR Congo in the barrage.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair. That's why for us, we have stability. We have a good FA. We have a good president. The government is behind us. We have the players. We have the emotion. We have the fans. We just need to play home. Nothing more.
And for those of us, I watched that match against Ghana, the last match in the previous AFCON qualifiers. For those of us that didn't watch, what was the atmosphere like, for example, from the supporters, where it was the whole country watching that match?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, can you explain to us the feeling a little bit of
No,
that
no. The whole
campaign
country
that
was
was very
behind us.
close?
The whole country was behind us. The head of the country as well, the president was behind us. And first in Douala when we play Angola, it was crazy. And then when we were in Ghana, it was crazy. But normally in Ghana, if you have just the VI and a good referee, we qualify.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, the one who talks about always the fault is on the other shoulder. But in this game, if we see the game and the last one in the World Cup qualifiers in June in Ghana again, if you have the VIA and the referee, a fair referee, we beat them twice. And it's true.
Absolutely. Can I ask you about one of your players? One, everybody talks about Jeffrey Kondogbia, and he's a
Yeah,
fantastic player. But can I ask you about Louis Mafuta? I
yeah.
really like this player. What do you think are his best qualities?
Kindness. It's somebody who doesn't speak a lot, but reflecting a lot about football and about his life. He's somebody when he takes when he's in the team, he's very peaceful, and sometimes he just say 2 3 words to the team or to other players, but they are always right and in the right time. And he works a lot. He knows that his career was not easy at the beginning, and he become, I will say, famous later. And then he knows that he needs to work very hard to enjoy, I will say, maybe the last 5 or 6 years in his career. And he's very, I will say, peace of mind with injuries because I know his body and he works a lot. That's why he's not injured a lot. I will say never. And for him, he comes late, and now he knows that he have to enjoy. But to enjoy for the end of his career, he needs to work hard, very hard, and he's working very hard.
He's scoring a lot of goals. I think he has 17 goals in 26 matches for the Central African
Yeah,
Republic.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Incredible record. Let's look ahead to the next two matches. So you have the Moroccan national team. I think the consensus around the continent is on paper, when you look at the quality of players, this is perhaps the best team in Africa. We saw what they did at the World Cup. They're going to be playing both matches at home.
Mhm.
Um, what do you tell your team? What are the main keys to get maybe some positive results in these next two matches?
Before talking about the games and about my team, I will say it's something very strange because Morocco is already qualified because they are hosting the tournament next year, and I don't know why the CAF they put them in one group, and now they are fighting. They are fighting to win all the games, and we the 3 others we need to work only for one place, and it's not fair.
I agree.
I know that they can be in the group. They can be in the group to play games to prepare their tournaments very good, but they have to. I don't know. They when you play against them, they are friendlies, and the points they're not counted. Like France in 2016, they organized the Euro. They were in the group, but when they were playing, it was friendly games.
It becomes a
And I
group of
don't know
three
why
of two
these
that
people
qualify.
now they are I will say taking points to Gabon, Lesotho, and us, and putting us in trouble because the yellow cards, for example. If now during these 2 games you take a lot of yellow cards because the referee, I don't know, he think that we are aggressive or something, and then those people they are suspended for the important games in November. It's not fair. It's not fair. So we cannot normally allow that to Morocco already qualified and play for and be in the I will say in the ranking. We can play versus against them, but only for friendly and nothing more. And the yellow card, everything is just like a friendly game. But now this is story about I will say CAF and why they put them in the group, and we have only one place now fighting with Lesotho and Gabon to be in Morocco next year. And for the game, I know it will be tough because we are playing 2 games in 3 days in the same stadium in Morocco in Oujda. But we
You're going back
don't
to
have
Wisda.
nothing.
You spent some time in Wisda as a coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know the place. Yeah, we play in Oujda in June against Chad and World Cup qualifiers. That we know the place, we know everything. It's a good place for us. No problem for the location. But yeah, now we know that Morocco is 14th in the FIFA ranking. They played the last World Cup. We know they were all Africa was proud of them. But now, yeah, we don't have nothing to lose. But we are going to fight, and yeah, we have to be careful for the yellow cards because we have some important players that they have already won. If they took another one, they will lose maybe or the next game or the important games in November. But we have to think about all those details, important. So we have to talk with them and with the technical staff as well before the game. But yeah, we are going to play 2 incredible games because the stadium will be full and we play against very good players. And yeah, don't have nothing to lose, but it's easy to motivate the players because we know that if we fight and we are right during the whole game, we can maybe. We never know in football. We beat
Absolutely.
Nigeria at home.
Yeah,
We
one
draw
zero.
in Mali. We were close, and normally we beat Ghana twice in Kumasi. So we have the quality to give them problems, but now we'll see.
And coach, we'll finish with this question. I don't believe, even though you've been coaching, for a long time in Africa, I don't think you've qualified to an African Cup of Nations. Your country hasn't qualified to an African Cup of Nations. What would this mean to you? What would this mean to Central African Republic to be in Morocco next December? Not this December, next
Well,
December.
first of all, for me, it's a dream. I'm working every day, and my family knows, my wife knows that it's one of my goals in life. And for Central Africa will be a dream because, as I said before, the players, the AFA, government, and fans especially, they deserve to be proud and participate in such a kind of good and big tournament. I will say maybe the biggest one in football after World Cup. That's why we deserve it, and it's not easy because of this. This group with Morocco first, and we'll see. But I hope in November we will enjoy and we'll be very proud of all of us to be qualified for the first time.
Thank you, Coach. I hope to see you there soon. And we'll be definitely following along, and we hope that Central African Republic will qualify for the first AFCON, and there will only be 7 teams then that have never qualified before.
Hope
Thanks
so.
again for your time, and speak
Thank you
soon.
so much.
So yeah, that was an interview with Coach Raoul Savoy. I thought it was worth listening to. It was good. And I think we're all gonna have our eyes on Central African Republic now, right? Over the next 2 months. It's actually 1 month. It's October and then the next month of November. They have 4 matches coming up in the next 35 days or so, and they have to qualify to make sure that their nation is going to be very proud of them. The toughest matches are coming up in October. Morocco, home and away, but it's really away and away, right? Because we're playing in Morocco. Morocco on paper is the best team on the continent. If they can nick a point out of those 2 matches, I think that would be enough. Losing both matches would be tough, but not the end of the world. And if somehow they can get 3 points or more, that would be absolutely incredible. And they'll be well on their way to qualifying for their very first AFCON. But besides the Central African Republic, I've sort of outlined, top 3 stories to follow along during this international break. Central African Republic is one of them, and we've spent most of this podcast speaking about them. Number 2 is Pap Thiaw's debut with Senegal. He's been named as the interim coach for Aliou Cisse. Aliou Cisse, of course, as we spoke about on his channel a few days ago, has not had his contract renewed. And now Senegal, I mean, they're playing the worst team in the group, Malawi. And so it's not an easy debut for Pap Thiaw because no debuts are ever easy, but the timing sort of, I was questioning the timing a little bit earlier, but now that I see that his first 2 matches would be Malawi, I think he's definitely capable of helping Senegal to 6 points over here. Pap Thiaw has, by the way, had experience, with the local, I believe, African Nations Championship team, or was it the under 20 team? I don't remember. But he definitely won one of those tournaments with either a youth national team or a regional national team. Finally, I think the matches of the international breakers is going to be Ghana versus Sudan. Sudan, for those that haven't been paying attention, leading their group in FIFA World Cup qualifying. They have 10 points to Senegal's 8. And Ghana are currently, as of now, not qualified. We've only played 2 matches, but as of right now, they're not qualified for the African Cup of Nations. Otto Addo hasn't had great results in the first 2 matches of the group stages. And Sudan, uh, their coach is Ghanaian, James Kwesi Appiah. He's coached Ghana before. And in my opinion, Sudan have come up with a sort of magic recipe of their own. We spoke about Central African Republic's magic recipe. Ghana have a magic recipe of their own. And I spoke to my friend Abdul Musa from Sudan about what that secret recipe is and how playing in exile with your national team helps. So take a listen to what Abdul had to say.
Thank you.
Abdul, nice to see you again. In my opinion, one of the most respected minds in African football. I really wanted to talk to you. I've been hassling you. I really wanted to talk to you about Sudan and Sudanese football because really, since James Kwesi Appiah has been appointed as coach of Sudan, you guys have been putting in exceptional results. You're, if I'm not mistaken, first in FIFA World Cup qualifying, and also have gotten up to a pretty decent start in the Afcon qualifiers. And I just want to know, for somebody that hasn't been paying attention, what's going on? What can you attribute James Kwesi Appiah's success to?
Firstly, Mahir, thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you for your compliments. And yeah, speaking about the national team, yeah, it's been a really good journey lately. Well, this success is down to a mixture of things, actually. Firstly, as everyone can see, we have a lot of new players that have joined dual nationals. I think that's helped. We have players who played in England, in Australia, in Finland, in Holland. They've all joined with, with that European background, coming through academies. I think it's helped shape the team. Kwesi Appiah has found the right mixture between those of dual nationals and the locals. I think that the Sudanese FA has helped a lot, obviously, with having the camp in Saudi Arabia. They have a partnership with the Saudi Arabia Football Federation, so there's a camp there all year long, actually. The national team is based there. Obviously, due to the political situation, we don't have any league, no league at the moment in the country. So any player that the coach sees is good enough to play in the national team is always welcome to the camp. Is always welcome to the camp to join and to train and to basically show what he's got. And that camp is there all year long. So it's given the coach a lot of time to see the best possible team that he can play for the qualifiers and for the World Cup qualifiers.
So let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. So most teams they come together for, training camps before matches, and they have maybe 1 week, maybe 10 days to prepare. You're telling me that the Sudanese national team, for players that are playing in the domestic league, they actually can pretty much train the whole year round together and prepare for those matches for many months at a time.
Yes, exactly. They have the freedom to train all year long. Even if the national coach team is in there, Kwesi Appiah is in there, he keeps some of his staff all year long. They kind of rotate. So there's always training going on. There's always a camp going on. I think this has helped a lot. It's helped the chemistry of the team. It's helped keep the players fit. It was a great idea by our association to do something like this. Obviously, with no league, if you don't have anything like that going on, you can't keep your players fit. Obviously, the players that are playing for clubs outside of Sudan, they carry on with their clubs. But the local players, they are there, they're training, so they're keeping fit. They're within the national team environment all year long, and I think that's helped our success. It's helped build the team. It's helped, like Kwesi Appiah has always had the players close to him throughout the year. I think obviously not the political situation is not the best, but and without having a league, but I think it's also been a blessing in disguise for Kwesi Appiah to have those players all year long there under his him monitoring everything, and it's helped him create the balance and the chemistry of the team very fast. So he hasn't been there for long, but he's managed to produce something that everyone's looking forward to, and we hope that we can qualify for both tournaments, actually.
And that's what I wanted to ask you, as somebody that's, Sudanese and you have family in Sudan and everywhere. And obviously what's going on back home, there's been a pretty terrible civil war and many people are displaced and you guys are not playing matches at home. You mentioned that the league is not being played. And now the national team is giving a lot of Sudanese people, I'm imagining, a lot of happiness. What's it been like, with other Sudanese people when you get together? Do you guys talk about the national team? Do you guys say, like, have you been paying attention to what's going on? What's it like watching these matches as they're having this kind of success at the moment? Is there a lot of hype?
Of course, of course. No, it's been amazing. Like, it's been the only source of joy for the Sudanese people in the last couple of months, to be honest, even the last year or so. The only hope we have is the football. I think these group of players have done incredibly well to bring joy to the Sudanese people. Even if you can see that we play our home games in South Sudan. Even that, from a political background, has brought the South Sudanese and the North Sudanese together to support one team. It's just been incredible, like emotionally, and we just look forward to every game and we take it game by game as it comes. as I said, it's been the only source of joy. Everyone's just speaking about the national team, especially when you're top of your World Cup qualifying group with the likes of Senegal, Togo, DR Congo, well, Afcon semi-finalists, to beat them and to go on to beat Mauritania in Mauritania. It's just been incredible. Like nobody has expected this much success, especially with the situation with no league. It's everybody's speaking about it. It's been an incredible journey, and we just hope it continues. We've told the players like to keep their heads down, to just keep working, to take it game by game, to make sure that we're not carried away. Um, so that's how it's been, and I've been very privileged to work closely with this group of players because I'm part of the committee that works to bring the dual nationals, and I played a big part in bringing the two Isa brothers, as we call them,
Yeah.
Mo and Abdul, very, very, very
Scored
humble
important goals
boys.
recently.
Sorry?
Scored important goals recently, yeah.
Exactly. Just scored the win against Niger in the last game, and it's even that. Just on a personal note, has been incredibly. I've
Fulfilling,
been
yeah.
incredibly satisfied, yeah, to play a part and to be working closely with this group of players. And for them, they have high ambitions. Believe me, they want to go all the way in both qualifying campaigns. I know we have a tough game tomorrow. I know Angola have beat Ghana in Ghana, and we're going to play them in Luanda tomorrow. So it's going to be a very tough game, but it's just another test of character for these players, and I'm sure they'll do well.
And Angola, of course, AFCON quarterfinalist, like you said, very great result against Ghana recently. Final question.
Yes.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. For Sudan to qualify to the World Cup, or for Sudan to qualify at least to the AFCON, these two things need to happen. What are the two things?
Two things need to happen. Firstly, we stay grounded. I think we take things game by game as it comes. We don't get too carried away. I know there's a lot of media attention. They just wherever I go, I see the table with us and top, Senegal second, blah blah blah. No, there's still 6 big games to go. We take game by game. Number one. Secondly, for things to the stability to continue. I think this camp needs to carry on. I think you have to keep the coach. We don't make no funny decisions. I know the FA they've been working well recently. I think we need to carry on because obviously they are the base of everything. They're the ones that make the important decisions. They're the ones that keep the group together. I think we need for that stability to continue, to take it game by game. I know a lot of these players very well. The mentality is there. I'm sure they will do well, and they just keep fighting. For me, just keep fighting game by game, and it's possible. I know it would be a dream come true, but it's possible. Dreams do come true, Mai.
Yeah, I know. And Sudan, I mean, historically, a giant of African football. And I think everybody's hoping that you guys get back to that level soon enough. So, Abdul, thank you for taking the time. I'll let you go now and
No problem.
keep an
Thank
eye
you.
on Sudan for sure. Take care, brother.
Thank you.
I thought that was a very, very insightful interview. The fact that, they're camping in Saudi Arabia, that some of the players are, almost training months on end to be with the national team. The fact that they're recruiting players from England, I think all of these things are very, very beneficial for Sudan. And I'm very, very curious and excited to see what they can do against Ghana in this international break. This international break, I'm going to finish with this, is very exciting to me for one reason. It's the only it's the only two matches. It's the only break in this qualification format where you have teams playing against one another back to back, right? Usually it's a home and away format. So you'll play a lot of time. Now we're playing in neutral venues, so sometimes like both matches are going to be in Morocco, or like for example, I believe I forget if it was Madagascar or Comoros. No, Comoros are playing Tunisia, but they're not going to be playing in Comoros. They're playing in Felicia in Abidjan, the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium. Um, but I love the back-to-back double-header format because for me, this is going to hinge a lot on coaching. You're going to play your first match, 90 minutes of film to study, and then who can make the right adjustments in for the second match. And even though the dynamics are not exactly the same, right? Because you're playing away from home or you're playing home, and those dynamics are very, very consequential in African football. But even putting that aside, what kind of tactical adjustments can you make after 90 minutes of watching tape to try and get a positive result in the second match? And that's why I'm particularly interested in the Ghana versus Sudan doubleheader. Anyways, we're gonna leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the African Football Roundup. Thankfully, club football is done for now, and we have the next 7 to 10 days to focus on international football. Let me know what you think about the Central African Republic. Let me know what you think about Sudan. Let me know what you think about the African Cup of Nations qualification format. For example, Morocco automatically qualifying and just having one slot open for the other 3 teams. All of these things I'm very, very curious to get your takes about. Thanks for listening, as always, and speak soon. Peace.